Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Just let me turn off my Spotify that I already forgot to do to an extremely impromptu, in the sense that I just put the camera on. I'm just going to talk, even though I've been thinking about what to say. There's always so much in my head. It's Thanksgiving, so happy Thanksgiving to all who celebrate in America. It's a complicated, complex, problematic holiday, of course, for reasons that we don't need to get into, or I don't want to get into. We're still having a sort of a Thanksgiving-ish meal. I kind of tend to think as a non-American anyway, so to me it's sort of, I never grew up celebrating it. I kind of think of it, how about just thinking in terms of being grateful for what you have, like don't even go into the history of it that much. And also just, I really like the fact that it's a food-centric holiday and nothing else. There's no gifts or anything. It's just being with your family and stuff. And I think that's probably one reason why people like it, despite its problematic origins, perhaps, in terms of, it's very disputed as to what actually went down. We're not gonna talk about that. So what we are going to talk about is my reading, and also just in general the life situation that I'm in right now, which it's one of those weeks where since last week it just seems completely different, and it's sort of mind-bogglingly different space that I'm in because of the Thanksgiving week. So I was working, and then it has so happened that I'd already decided to cancel one class on Monday. That was the last day I was going to teach anyway this week. But then the other class, they were sort of disaffected, and so I decided, what the heck, I'm just going to give them a task list of things they should work on instead of meeting, because, you know, some of them had already left, and so I decided to not teach at all on Monday. And I decided that on Friday, so yeah, and it's fine in terms of the classes, but it did throw me off in terms of, okay, now I have basically a whole week off from teaching. And yeah, so it kind of threw me off there a little bit. I mean, it's good, it's great. I still had quite a bit of grading to get done, and I only finished the grading, did I finish it yesterday or the day before? The day before Tuesday I finished the grading. So I had a test to grade and some other things to grade, and because of the break, like I took the weekend off more or less, it was sort of hard to get back in, even into grading, because it can be quite tedious, and you really have to sort of like pretend it's not as tedious as it is. This is you kind of fake out yourself pretending that it's really interesting. This is my way of coping with a lot of tedious things that I need to do, is just to pretend it's not tedious and that it's actually fun or interesting. And a lot of times it's true. If you decide something's fun and interesting, you can make almost anything at least not as awful. It's all mindset. I'm convinced of that. I wish my students understood that more, but we won't get into that either. So this is a week off, and I go back for one more week, which will be a little hard to do on Monday, getting up early again for my 8:30 class, but then only a week longer. And even during the week, I'm doing presentations in the one class, and then there's just one prep I need to take care of, which will be some work. I mean, the last week's kind of a regular work week. And then on the Friday of that week, we have our departmental gathering. We've been through a lot this semester. We're working on transitioning to a world languages majors, and the different majors are being cut, or you won't be able to major in a language. It will be called world languages, and the transition to that type of major, which will have language as a part of it, language instruction, but less of a focus on language instruction than it has been, because you'll be with all the other people taking their country's languages, whatever, and you'll be taking classes with them in English about topics that are across the board to do with global stuff, but in English it will be taught. Anyway, that's all gone down, and it's been kind of sad, because we would rather not, but we do not have enough students to maintain our majors without it being kind of under a single umbrella. So we'll see how that goes. I mean, whatever, what can you do? And I have been on the blue skies a lot, and so let me get into my reading, because that's where the main thing has happened. And another thing, so much is happening, too much. Another thing that is happening is that Hobonichi Weeks people know that November 25th is when the new 25 week starts. So I transitioned from this reading journal. It's just really pretty. I might actually get one for next year or something, that I just got for cheap because I got it late. It's for this year, but I got it for about $10 or something from the store, to practice doing the reading journal and how I would set it all up and what I would write about. And so now I've transitioned into the one for the whole next year. And I decided it's okay to have this in front, even though it does kind of hide the pretty pattern of it. And I, of course, have decorated it in a kind of silly way with lots of book stickers, because that's what I have. Even the first page is kind of cute. Sorry, I was reading, and all my book-related stickers can go in there, and which is kind of fun to have a designated place for bookish stuff. And so I've already started my first week in here, and it's all fine. It's going to be a good thing. In the back, I have something I won't show you, but it is kind of interesting. I've decided not to do, well, I actually did kind of do a summary of a dream I had last night in the back, but what I'm trying to do is write down people I recognize from my life who show up in my dreams. And that's kind of interesting to see who it is. And then you could sort of think, like, why does this person keep showing up? And so that's just a secret thing in the back. So let's get into the reading stuff, which is connected to Blue Sky. Don't worry, it's all connected. But let me see what I have here. So this is Thursday. So since last Tuesday, let's see, the last one in here. That wasn't it. Let's see. Tuesday. Finished Intermezzo on Tuesday, and I think I talked to you guys about it. I loved it. And the first thing I'm going to talk about, just because it pops up as the first thing, is I've started listening to, and sometimes dipping in to Olivia Manning's The Bolka trilogy, and it's really, really good, isn't it, guys? So I'm late to this party for sure. A lot of you have already read this. The narrator is really good. She's this British, she has a British accent, of course, which is befitting. And so it's all about this young couple. It's basically autofiction about Olivia Manning and her husband, who her actual husband was R.D. Smith. And in the book, they're the Pringles, Guy and what's her name, Harriet, I think. And she does a really good job of like describing other people, both on the inside and the outside, like how they affect other people. Guy is very charismatic, very outgoing, and she's sort of less so, it seems to be. Also, she's in this situation where she's the wife and he's the one with the job. She's the new wife that he married over the summer. So it's a sort of a whirlwind romance that they had. And she's kind of getting to know him, and she's really good at sort of trying to be fair to the fact that there are parts of his personality that are really annoying. I mean, I could not marry someone like that, because he's so gregarious but outgoing, but also kind of oblivious to subtleties in situations. He's just one of these people. A lot of times we know people like that, and then they also happen to oftentimes be men. But he is charismatic, and apparently, I mean, I'm assuming he was pretty good looking. And I gathered even before I found out that since he's left-leaning, he's a sort of one of these. So it's in the 40s, just at the beginning of World War II, and he's very pro-Russia in this kind of typical sort of not knowing the insides of what's going on there. Of course, they didn't back then. But he's a socialist in that sense. He likes Russia. He's on the side of the peasants and the working class, which, yeah, I'm all for that. And so few people were, we know that. But he does bring a certain sort of naivety, from a hindsight, a sort of naivety to the sort of pro-Russia stance that, of course, you know, Stalin is every bit as awful as Hitler was in terms of, and I think he probably had both people die because of him, but they're both awful people, evil, power-hungry people. But that was all kind of came out later. I mean, some people realized it early on, like Orwell realized it early on, but a lot of people didn't. And so, and it does turn out, so I guess that he's a teacher at the university in where are they? They're in Romania. So they're in Bucharest, I think, is Romania. Yeah, I always get them confused. Budapest is Hungary. And I figured that he must be a Cambridge man, because to me, the little bit I know about Cambridge is it was where a lot of the sort of socially acceptable socialists were, and to the point of the Smiley's people type thing. And it turns out he actually probably was a spy, the real guy. And so that's interesting, because he doesn't really have a spy-like mentality. He's very outgoing, very open, seems to be. Like, he includes everyone, he's inclusive. And I like how she's sort of, on the one hand, she is a bit eye-rolly about certain things he does, especially regarding this one woman. who wouldn't be in this case? But on the other hand, she sort of sees how it's based on his basic goodness and wanting to be inclusive. Like he's just very, very unjudgmental in a way she isn't. And she's sort of just realized that she is more bourgeois and she's more interested in having a flat. And he's not. I mean, he's just kind of, she's sort of in a certain sense civilizing him a little bit. But she's really good at like subtleties of insights into other people and herself, and just to me it's sort of like Austen-esque. If you want a new, you know, modern day or more modern but still old-fashioned Austen, someone like Manning's really good. So sort of the comedy of manners stuff, and it's a wide range of people, and they're all British. Well, there are some Romanian people in here, but it is definitely filtered through British, looking at the Balkans in a sort of course, somewhat condescending way. But, you know, some other people, even people from Romania, they're very down on the Romanians. They make them sound like they're always saying how lazy they are. It's very sort of, what's the word? Condescending and I don't know, stereotyping of the Balkans, which, you know, people did. But you're sort of seeing differences. So it's all predicated on the war happening, the war beginning, and the Germans, and where people's loyalties lie. And you're getting to know all these people. There's one person, he's hilarious. He's this down and out guy who just kind of, he mooches his way through the world. He's always borrowing money, but he's so blatant about it that people are turning on him. And so the fact that it's a large group of people does sort of remind me of things like Anthony Powell's Dance at the End of the World, even though that was very much in England situated. It's not this fascinating canopy of the foreign place, so to speak. So that's different. So it reminds me a little bit of Powell, this sort of lots of British people being introduced to us, and we see the class differences and things like that. I mean, and she's sort of, it's the writing is very strong. It's at certain points it does kind of remind me of Tolstoy a little bit, just the way she's introducing things. So I'm really, really enjoying it, and I'm almost through the first part of it. Well, no, I'm probably not, but for me, I'm quite a ways in. 200, whatever, about 200, not quite. So that's going really well. The first section of it is called The Great Fortune, I think. Is that right? Yes, and then the whole trilogy is called the Balkan Trilogy. And I have this beautiful NRYB edition. It's a thick book, but it's very nice. They're always very nice editions. So that's going well. And then I kind of started, but I think I'm putting on hold. My favorite writer who always keeps getting put on hold, Stifter, so I don't even think I'll talk about that. And the reason is something else came to in its way, so to speak, a couple things. Well, let me first talk about my slow read, Marlene, because I had another epiphany about it. I keep having epiphanies about this book. And I was sort of like trying to figure out why I'm having a bit of a hard time with it. And now it's all dark and I should have put the lights on. Am I going to bother? Probably not. And I kind of had the epiphany that it's precisely because it's a discomfort read. It's the opposite of a comfort read. It's designed to make you just uncomfortable. The narrator's sort of strange interactions with her world and the men in this world are extremely uncomfortable. Like even the first one, the first section is called Happy with Ivan. And Ivan treats her so badly, and she is so sort of codependently connected to Ivan that it's quite uncomfortable to read. Like he treats her not very well. And the thing about Marlene, which I still haven't quite figured out because it's not that easy, is I think Marlene is this other man, but I don't think Marlene really exists except in the narrator's imagination. So it's a made-up other man. I'm not sure yet. And so discomfort is the name of the game. So many of these Austrian authors, they're such downers, I have to say. And it's so funny that I wanted to read Stifter, the other Austrian from the 19th century who, okay, so granted, his works are sort of soothing and everything, but if you read about how he committed suicide, trigger warning, he himself was down, apparently enough to do that at the end. I won't get into how he did it. But anyway, the sort of the sadnesses of life are sort of, or the difficulties of existence are at the forefront of these people. I'm thinking of Bernard, also thinking of Nobel Prize winning writer Jelinek, who I've not read a lot of, but the bits that I have read and especially in terms of male-female relationships, it's extremely negative, I would say. And then you have Malina, this great sort of lyric novel. And so the second part is all dreamlike narratives on a extremely overbearing and brutal father figure, like sort of, you know, Sylvia Plath's daddy stuff, but different because it's more narrative, although it's sort of experimental. But you know, he treats her awfully. At some point he pours ice cold water over her and she turns to ice. It's this really weird, negative, unsettling stuff. And so that's part of my discomfort, and especially if I'm dealing with exhaustion brain, which I was, and I'm not really dealing with exhaustion brain. And that's probably why I had the epiphany about okay, it's supposed to be discomforting. But I still find myself having to, like, even in my journal, a good thing, or good or bad thing as you take it, is I realized that I had to reread a whole section, because I read it the first time and it just didn't make a lot of sense. And I think post-epiphany, it made more sense to me. So I reread a whole section of the father stuff. And it's basically sort of, I'm reading articles about, it's a trauma thing. It's a trauma, it's writing about trauma. And someone apparently said this outrageous thing of, well, if everyone experiences these things at the hands of men, because a lot of women do, can you still consider it your own personal trauma? Like, that's an excuse for it to, like, it's normal, so it's not trauma. Like, excuse me, that doesn't make it any less awful just because everyone experiences it. It shows that it makes it obvious that it's part of a societal issue and needs to be dealt with in that kind of structural way. But we won't go there either. It's kind of heartbreaking too, the fact that how common this brutalization of women at the hands of men is in all kinds of subtle and not so subtle ways. And that's what she's writing about here. It's interesting that it is a father figure. The only thing I know about her actual father is that he was called a Nazi. I don't know how awful he was to her, or if it's her, you know, a fictionalization of the father figure. It's not, I don't think it's actually her father. I mean, it's sort of the uber father type thing. And so that's where I'm at. And then it's come back to her talking to Malina, who's also not being that nice to her. But if you think of Malina as a part of her own psyche, it kind of like they're talking to each other. And the Malina is sort of the rational, kind of trying to shake her into being more normal about things. That could make sense that it's just a part of her own psyche talking to her. So I'm still slowly reading it. I'm on 233, about 100 pages left. And I still really, really enjoy it, but it's as I think, is it, which one of the Rachels wrote about it? Kushner, not Kusk. I think it's Kushner who wrote an article in the New Yorker 2019 where she says something like, she loved the book too, but she says, it's not an easy book. It's a difficult book in which to find your footing, which is an exactly good way to put it. Like you're kind of like on shaky ground a lot of the time. Gosh, it is kind of dark, isn't it? Anyway, hope this is okay. 18 minutes, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I'm not even done yet. You know, this might be a two-parter because I don't really want my stuff to be too long. I'm sorry, I just went on a bit of a... I'm so chatty today because I still have to talk about some other stuff. You know what? I think I'll give us all a break and I'll talk about the other stuff another time, maybe tomorrow. And I think I've still kind of decided not to do Vlogmas. I know one person said that they don't like Vlogmas because they feel like... And I also... There's other reasons why I don't think I want to do it. But anyway, I'm at almost 19 minutes right now. I think I'm just going to post this as my update on my reading part 1, and at some point you'll get the further, and there's other things I need to tell you about because I went shopping and I have a mini haul. We finally got rid of our books. We had 2 boxes of books that had been sitting there since I wanted to get rid of them over the summer. It didn't happen, so now it happened. And of course when I went to half price, I bought 4 books, and I actually saved 2 from the box that it would show you. They shouldn't have been in the box to begin with. Anyway, that'll all come later in another update. And thanks all for watching. Happy Thanksgiving. And I'll be back. Let me know what you're doing and what you're reading. Take care. Bye.